So, one of my favorite movie series of all time is the Lethal Weapon series. A lot of people bash 4, but I actually liked 4. Um, it's not as good as 1 or 2. It's definitely a film series that actually gets weaker as it goes along. 3 to me is the one of the weakest ones as far as villains go. But there's something about Lethal Weapon 2 that I just now noticed within the last few years. Um, there is a scene in Lethal Weapon 2. Spoilers ahead for anybody who has never seen Lethal Weapon 2. If you have not seen any of the Lethal Weapon movies, which star um, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, and then in Lethal Weapon 2, they would add Joe Pesci. Lethal Weapon 3 would add Rene Russo to the mix. And then Lethal Weapon 4 would add Chris Rock. Um, I'm really sad that they did not make a fifth one. They did a TV series, which was not that good at all. But in Lethal Weapon 2, well, Riggs takes home one of the characters back to his house or his trailer that is on the beach, and he promises her a that he is a gourmet cook. And he gets her back to the trailer, and then pretty much, well, let's just hear that. Let's just play it for
I'm not exactly a gourmet cook. In fact, the only thing I can make is chili. Do you like your chili with or without crushed Oreos?
With, of course.
Okay, one after my own heart.
So he asks her, "Do you like your chili with or without crushed Oreos?" And that got me thinking: can you put crushed Oreos in chili? We'll get back to that. But as many times as I've seen this movie, I must have seen this movie at least 50 times over my 39 years on this earth. I watch these movies at least once a year. Um, there is a scene in the movie way prior to this where we see Martin Riggs cooking chili, and he is talking to Danny Glover's character Roger, talking to Roger's wife Trish. She's making up some multivitamin packs for him, and while she's labeling the packets for him to take, she has a gold pin, and she asks him about the gold pin. Now, this is a very, very important scene in the movie because this is where we find out that that gold pin is the pin that he used to sign his wife's death certificate, pretty much sign her out of the morgue. Um, and we go into the story about how Riggs was supposed to meet up with her for dinner, but she got into a car crash, and he arrived home and got a phone call and informing her that his wife had been killed, and he of course hits the floor in his grief and looks under the couch while he's on the floor and he sees the gold pin. Um, but that's not really why we're discussing that scene. We're discussing that scene. Well, let me play a clip from that scene for you, and let's see if you could pick up on
I should have been driving it. I guess we'd have been all right, huh? Anyway, I remember falling down on my knees, and I started shaking all over, and I remember thinking, I'm losing it. I'm just losing it. So there I was, lying on the living room floor. Lying there, and I'm seeing under the couch. And I see this gold pin. Gold pin just lying there under the couch. I've been looking for it everywhere. I've been looking for it. Haven't seen it in 2 months. There it is. She wasn't much of a housekeeper.
it. Did you see? Let's check that scene out again. I'll clip it. I'll clip it down for you. Let's just focus on the end of that scene.
Pin just lying there under the couch. I've been looking for it everywhere. I've been looking for it. Haven't seen it in 2 months. There it is. She wasn't much of a housekeeper.
So Riggs is actually crushing up Oreos. You can see him in his hand. He's crushing them up over the pot. and he's crushing up Oreos and putting them in chili. Now you may be thinking, "Ew, that's gross. That's absolutely gross." And I would tend to agree, but there are a lot of recipes out there for chili that do call for chocolate. Typically, it is unsweetened chocolate. Typically, it is like a cocoa powder, a unsweetened cocoa powder. Some people even add dark chocolate bars, chopped up to their chili. It enhances the flavor of the chili powder and everything else because chocolate has a lot of oil in it. A lot of the flavors in chili powder are oil soluble, which means they bloom in oil. They enhance themselves in oil. Yeah, welcome to Chili Talk. Anyway, um, there is one recipe out there. If you just look up crushed Oreos and chili, you'll find it. It's basically a turkey chili recipe, and it calls for 6 crushed up Oreos. Now, the thing that kind of mystifies me about this is the cream center, the white center inside of an Oreo cookie, which is really nothing more than shortening and powdered sugar, maybe a little bit of vanilla added to it. I can see the cookie part. But I can't see adding the shortening and everything to it. Um, Unless you're making a really spicy chili and you wanted to add that as a sugar component to balance out the spiciness. The chocolate cookie part of it, I definitely understand because the chocolate cookie is going to help with the texture of the chili. It's going to act as a thickener. It's going to add sweetness because there is sugar in those cookies, and it's going to add that chocolate flavor because there is cocoa powder in those. Um, so yeah, that's a completely random video about Riggs. Martin Riggs' chili recipe. Would you add crushed Oreos to your chili? Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Just a little Easter egg in Lethal Weapon 2.